is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. The Herd sponsored by Firestone Complete Auto Care. Keep your car running newer and longer. And Joy Taylor is joining me. Man, we got World Cup soccer. We got LeBron. We got DeMarcus Cousins. The world's imploding, Joy.
The Lakers had a nice 24 hours.
So I got to start with this. And I'm watching I've been seeing this happen for the last couple of years. I don't know if it's the Trump presidency. The sky is falling. And we're freaking out about weather. We're freaking out about news. We're freaking out about politics. We're freaking out about sports. Everybody's hyperventilating. Everybody's hyperbolic. Oh, my God, DeMarcus Cousins signed for the Warriors. Oh, my God, I'll never watch the NBA again. I can't take it anymore. What about the children? Oh. Take a deep breath. Really, when the 60-win Celtics next year face the 60-win Warriors in the finals, you're going to watch golf? Break down a Padre Brewers game? Really? When Klay Thompson's on the market next year and Magic and LeBron are recruiting him in free agency, you don't care about that either. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, the sky is falling. By the way, in Michael Jordan's 6 title years, he played 24 playoff series. He never played a Game 7 in the finals, and the NBA was its highest rated ever. In fact, in those 24 playoff series, he only faced a Game 7 twice. The Warriors have already been in a Game 7 3 times, and this puppy's just starting. And why did they go out and get DeMarcus Cousins? The story this morning that Draymond Green and Steve Kerr went out and got him. Why? Because they know how soft Steph is and how soft Kevin Durant is and how soft Nick Young is. That's why they went out and got him. Steve Kerr got into a fist fight with Michael Jordan. Draymond Green will get into a fist fight with anybody. Those are tough guys. They wanted another tough guy in the room. Yes, DeMarcus Cousins can give you 25-12. He's also difficult, enigmatic. The Pelicans were better without him. They swept the Blazers without him. They had a better record without him. He also tore his Achilles. You know what happens when 300-pound guys tear their Achilles? They're never the same. He's not even going to be ready until January or February. And you're freaking out? I'll never watch the league again. Oh, stop it. We celebrate dominance in America. I've never heard an Ohio State Buckeye fan on recruiting day say, let's give Purdue some of our players to make it more even. The only sport now with parity is golf, and nobody watches it. DeMarcus Cousins had no offers. He's difficult. I'd say he's a head case. He's never played in a single playoff minute, and he has to go in now for a year and prove that he can fit with a good culture. Good luck. I could make an argument. This isn't anything more than the beginning of the end for the Warriors, who are now grasping for an enigmatic tough guy because they lack it. P.J. Tucker punched Golden State in the neck. He's 6'5". He gave them nothing but trouble. Houston wins that series if Chris Paul's healthy. You know what a problem in sports is? A problem in sports is when one team has more money than every other team. Those 90s Yankees teams we celebrate, when they could just pay A-Rod more, and they could pay Mark Teixeira more, and they could pay CC Sabathia more because they had a regional sports network that was making $350 million a year, and the Cincinnati Reds regional sports network paid them $8 a week. That's a problem in sports. When one team simply has more money. It is not a problem in sports when you create an amazing culture where good players are willing to take less. We have that right now. It's called the Patriots, and it ain't killing the NFL. Don't be mad because the Warriors have a smart GM. Be mad because your doofus GM's got 5 burner Twitter accounts and couldn't even get a face-to-face meeting with LeBron James. Which is it? You don't like players taking pay cuts? Wait a minute. Don't you complain that players only care about money? What the hell is it? Pick a side, Gert. Pick a lane. Move that Delta 88 to the left lane. Let guys like me pass. Which is it? DeMarcus Cousins, many NFL players go to the Patriots and Warriors because they have their act together. They're buttoned up. They're smart. They get the rotation figured out. They travel in class. Steph Curry wasn't a number one pick. Klay Thompson wasn't a number one pick. Draymond Green wasn't a number one pick. And when guys like Derrick Rose and Westbrook were saying, my best friend's a basketball, I don't recruit, Steph Curry and the Hampton Five were out east, days in recruiting Kevin Durant. Don't blame them. The NFL and the NBA rule the sports world today. And they don't rule it because they have more money than everybody else. They rule it because they're smarter than everybody else, and that's attractive to veteran players who want to win rings. And in DeMarcus Cousins' case, he not only wants to win a ring, he wants to redeem his reputation. And you don't like it? Tell me the last baseball player that said, I'll take significantly less. Tell me the last superstar baseball player that did that. Basketball players do it every year. Bosh, Battier, LeBron, they're doing it every year. DeMarcus Cousins, David West. Pick a lane. You like him or not like him. I like my athletes to say, it's not about money. I want to win. I love my pro athletes to say that. What I don't love is Robinson Cano in the middle of a dynasty saying, I'm going to go out and play in Seattle. A 10-year deal. And finally I get to compete. Oh, wait, I did PEDs. I'm out. That's bad for sports. The Yankees teams we celebrate who just had more money than everybody because they had the YES Network and nobody else did, that's bad for sports. The Warriors, Michael Jordan, 24 series in his dynasty. Never a Game 7 in the finals, 2 Game 7s overall, and the Warriors have already faced 3. And for the record, I don't even like the Warriors to win it next year. I've been saying for 6 months, I'll take the Celtics. All right, let me shift gears. I read this story this morning. The famous LeBron James banner in downtown Cleveland is officially coming down. It is, Joy, a 10-story tall billboard.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's not going to take a day or two. It's going to take a week or two. And Nike spokesperson said it would take. It's going to take a while. And by the way, the Cavs official online team shop has already scrubbed LeBron from the front page, and they're selling his jerseys at a discount. And at the end of this story, it says this. Hey, it was a good run. Not really. Cleveland screwed it up. Cleveland screws everything up. 11 seasons with the best basketball player in the world. 1 title. By the way, he went to Miami, 4 years, 2 titles. Do the math. That's way better. This illustrates the utter dysfunction of Cleveland. 11 years, 1 title, and he leaves you for the second time. By the way, this is happening with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Best player in the world, 10 years, 1 title. And now, by the way, Minnesota, the Vikings in your own division, has a star in every unit. They have a star corner, a star safety, a star pass rusher, a star linebacker, a star running back, a star receiver. Cleveland's draft picks, just in the years LeBron was a Cavalier. I'm not even going to count that they drafted Tristan Thompson over Klay Thompson. I'm not going to count that they drafted Andrew Wiggins potentially. You think that was their ace draft pick? No, Joel Embiid was in that draft. He's a better player. In the years he was a Cavalier, they had 13 picks. None were elite players. In 2006, they took Shannon Brown. Paul Millsap was available 20 picks later. 2008, J.J. Hickson. DeAndre Jordan was available several picks later. 2009, Christian Iyenga. Patrick Beverley, available 12 picks later. And yes, they took Andrew Wiggins, who now isn't happy in Minnesota. Joel Embiid was available 2 picks later. Cleveland's dysfunction screwed this up. When you get a LeBron and an Aaron Rodgers, you don't waste any time. You overpay for GMs. You overpay for talent evaluators. You overpay for scouts. You overpay for a head coach. You overpay for assistants. You overpay for position coaches. Aaron Rodgers is now 34. They don't have close to the best roster in their own division. And he's had 2 surgeries. When Aaron Rodgers became a starter in 2008, 10 years ago, do you realize the AFC was better? Well, the AFC had 6 teams with 11 or more wins. Peyton, Brady, Ben, all in their prime. The NFC had only 3 teams with 11 or more wins. Now Aaron Rodgers, have you looked at the NFC? Every single franchise, every one, has a franchise quarterback. There are no easy Sundays. The Bears have their quarterback. The Vikings now have upgraded at quarterback. Don't tell me it was a good run. Green Bay has screwed up Aaron Rodgers. When you get somebody that gifted, you keep people that elevate him. Always. You overpay for coordinators, coaches, scouts, talent evaluators. There are no more Aaron Rodgers on the market. There are no more LeBron James on the market. Green Bay finally figured it out and flushed some people downstairs. But I don't want to hear it was mostly a good run. It was typical of Cleveland. Rockefeller left. Steinbrenner left. LeBron's leaving again. You mostly screwed it up. Coming up next, Lakers. Have they become one flew over the cuckoo's nest in tennis shoes? What a roster and what to make of it. My thoughts coming up. In L.A., it's The Herd.
The Thread is a new hit podcast from Aussie Media that explores history's surprising connections in order to discover how one thing leads to another. Like how movie moguls in early Hollywood helped spark the Me Too movement today. Get it on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen.
Welcome back. Good to have you in. The Herd, Joy Taylor joining us. The guy who broke the Boogie Cousins story will be joining us in 10 minutes. Kind of a crazy day yesterday. Sunday, LeBron, Lakers. Story came out. They had a 3-hour meeting, and LeBron says, I'll be a Laker, call the Lakers. Told his guys that. And then yesterday, it was kind of crazy. Rondo signs. Rajon Rondo's sort of a difficult, enigmatic guy. Lance Stevenson, crazy Lance Stevenson, once blew in LeBron's ear signs. And kind of flaky JaVale McGee signs. And everybody's like, whoa! Man, I was watching TV yesterday, listening to radio. And everybody's freaking out. Man, what do you make of this? What do I make of it? I make that in the 3-hour meeting between LeBron James and Magic Johnson, LeBron James said, all right, I'll come. I like your young players. But Magic, you got to get me some dogs. You got to get me some dogs now. Lonzo's kind of passive, and Brandon Ingram's kind of passive. Josh Hart's a baby. Kyle Kuzma has a little dog, but he's a baby. Magic, you got to give me some dogs. And Rondo is a dog. And Lance Stevenson competes his ass off. And JaVale McGee has been in big games. That's what that was about yesterday. By the way, they're all 1-year contracts. Trading deadline, 2 of those guys may be gone. Makes them nimble. Rondo and Lance Stevenson compete hard. Will get in the kitchen of star players. Taunt them. Push them. Annoy them. Not intimidated by anybody. And remember, LeBron James signed a 4-year contract. He didn't win in his first year in Miami. He did not win in his first year in Cleveland. He is still the best player in the world with very little signs of slowing down. His numbers overwhelmed the MVP this year, James Harden. He was better at everything except points per game, which I guess means more than everybody in the world thinks except me. This is all part of a plan, and I would argue it has worked perfectly. Let's go look at Magic Johnson's plan. He takes over as the president. The first thing he did, Joy, you remember this, they got rid of D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young. They had that incident. There wasn't trust. Boom, they got rid of him. The second thing they did, they had to get out of the Luol Deng or the Mozgov contract. They found a sucker in Brooklyn. Then they had the draft, which I would argue they aced. Kuzma was the steal of the draft. Lonzo and Josh Hart can play. Then they signed KCP to strengthen the relationship with Clutch Sports. What do I mean by that? He's represented by Rich Paul, LeBron's guy. So they signed him to build that relationship, put a nice few dollars in Rich Paul and LeBron's pocket, and they signed a troubled player who does have talent. From there, they started figuring out ways to create cap space. They got rid of Jordan Clarkson's lousy contract. Then they signed LeBron. Then yesterday they renounced Julius Randle's contract, which they've been talking about here in L.A. for a year. And then they signed a bunch of veterans to 1-year deals for 2019 cap flexibility. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. There's only one letter left, I, and that's I want to get Kawhi. They do that and it's all worked. Everything they've planned has worked. Get rid of Nick Young and D. Russell. Find somebody to eat that awful Mozgov contract. Ace the draft. Sign KCP to build a relationship with LeBron's guys. Get Clarkson's contract out of here. Sign LeBron. Renounce Julius Randle. And sign a bunch of dog veterans to year deals you can move off of if you want to in the trading deadline. That's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. One more thing to do. Land the next star. And they know who he is. He wants to be a Laker. And I would argue with every passing day, the Lakers, not the Spurs, have more leverage. Kawhi is a difficult kid. And I shouldn't even say that. Kawhi is a different kid. You can't acquire him at the trading deadline, Philadelphia, and try in 2.5 months to build a relationship. You got to get Kawhi Leonard in-house now if you're the Sixers, now if you're the Celtics. What about Paul George? He stayed with Westbrook. Yeah, they had him for over a year. They built a relationship. They gave him the best seat on the plane. Gifts, love, recruiting. They gave Paul George love. They created a relationship, a dynamic. And in the end, he felt loyalty to Westbrook, the city, the town, and the fans. You can't get Kawhi in for 3 months. What GM's going to give up assets and make the deal at the trading deadline? He's already said he wants to be a Laker. Don't compare this to Paul George. Paul George was in Oklahoma City, got to the playoffs for a year, and they took care of him. Westbrook, for the first time in his life, actually recruited him. They're both from L.A. They worked out together. Okay, if you're going to make a deal for Kawhi, you got to make it now, San Antonio. And the best offer on the market, because the Celtics aren't giving you Kyrie, and the Sixers aren't giving you Simmons and Embiid, the best offer is the Lakers. Magic plan's working. Yesterday was not crazy at all by the Lakers. It fit right into their plan. Here's Joy with the news.
No. Heard on the news. This is the Herdline News.
All right, let's talk a little football, Collins. Terrell Owens caused some waves when he declined to show up at the Pro Football Hall of Fame official induction ceremony, saying he wanted to celebrate with people elsewhere, with his people elsewhere. He has announced his details this morning on his Hall of Fame speech. He will be giving his speech August 4th at his alma mater, University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. Okay. His event is free and it's open to the public. It's at 3:17. That's just a few hours before the Pro Football Hall of Fame ceremony in Canton. He wrote on Instagram, "I'm proud to be a Mock and I'm honored to be able to share this experience with my family, friends, teammates, and fans at the place that provided me an opportunity beyond high school and where I truly began to find myself as an athlete. Thank you to everyone who supported my celebration decision. I look forward to seeing you all at Chattanooga." And then he ended it with his catchphrase, "Get your popcorn ready."
Yeah.
Will you be watching this, Colin?
No, I won't be watching this.
I'm going to have to check it out. I told him he is a lock to cry. I don't think he's going to make it 2 minutes into his speech without tearing up, which is nice. It's going to be interesting what the environment is there, because at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it's very daunting. There's a huge stage and there's thousands of fans, and you've got a prompter, and obviously, like, you feel the heaviness of this moment that these guys have worked for their entire career, and their families are there, and they've supported them their entire career, and they tell their story.
Right.
So it'll be a different environment, obviously, because it's not that. But I think people will definitely. I wonder where they're going to air it, though.
Not to be a psychologist, but I don't think T.O. is ever comfortable unless he's the center of attention. And if you go to the Hall of Fame, you're not the center of attention. And I think you go to East Tennessee Tech State, whatever that is, Panera Bread University, you go to that place and you're the biggest star on campus and everybody loves you. I think T.O. has always been threatened by other great athletes, that he feels he, at some level, doesn't measure up, and he gets really insecure. So it doesn't shock me. I know Chris Carter. You know Chris Carter well. Chris Carter loves being around other star players. Loves it. Why? Because he's secure in himself. Dennis Rodman, T.O., they're not comfortable in that environment. And by the way, I had T.O. on the show. I like him, but he's incredibly high maintenance and incredibly needy.
Yeah, well, the ego is a fickle friend. Do they serve free bread bowls at Panera Bread University? Because I may go back for my master's.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't been to Panera Bread in a while.
Good. I love their Greek salad, too.
I like almost everything they do there.
Yeah. Moving on, Cowboys' third-year running back Ezekiel Elliott will be working out with Giants rookie running back Saquon Barkley, according to a report from The Athletic. They're going to be working out here in L.A. before camps open up, and he won't be the only Giant there. Odell is supposed to be there. Sterling Shepard will also be training there. Now, I know traditionalists hate this, obviously, because the Giants and the Cowboys are supposed to hate each other.
Right.
But
I think athletes work out.
That's not,
Yeah, I mean, remember a few years ago, I really noticed it a few years ago when Durant and LeBron, about 8 years ago, were like, yeah, I really like him. Well, let's train together. I really like you. I think that's for fans. But in the end, what we've seen, Joy, over the last, I'd say, decade, but really in the last 5 or 6 years, the empowerment of the player, that he can call his own shots and he can go where he wants to go and he can work out with other star players. We got to get over that. Like, the world's changed. These little fences and borders that fans put up don't exist.
Well, also, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you have the availability to watch your team anywhere in the country. So you can be in Seattle and be a Cowboys fan and be able to get all of the games. That changes things, especially for kids. Kids are more fans of the individual player, like you said now, than they are the team. There's a different kind of loyalty there. So, like I said, traditionalists won't like it, but yeah, they're all working out together. And finally, Jimmy Garoppolo has surpassed his former teammate Tom Brady in quarterback jersey sales, according to official numbers kept by the NFL.
Yeah.
What's also interesting, who follows Garoppolo, is Carson Wentz, Baker Mayfield, and Nick Foles. Wentz is third and Foles is fifth. So there might be some controversy with the quarterbacks there in Philadelphia.
What do we have? Who are the jersey sales leaders in the NFL?
Well, the quarterbacks, I only have the quarterbacks here, but that's Jimmy G, Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Baker, Nick Foles, Sam Darnold.
Where's Drew Brees?
Marcus Mariota, and Dak Prescott.
What? Drew Brees isn't in that?
I don't know, maybe everyone already has their Drew Brees
Well, they already have Brady. That is...
I don't know. The Sam Darnold one is the one that sticks out to me.
Nick Foles has sold more jerseys than Drew Brees.
He is the Super Bowl MVP. Jimmy G being number one, though, it does surprise me, but his value is at the absolute height right now.
Yeah, he's a hunk.
But I mean, just like he hasn't lost a game. He has everything to lose at this point. You know, like he's the shiny thing, and everyone feels like, you know, Brady forced him out, and he's really the next Brady, and Belichick, you know, loved him. So we'll see what ends up happening this season, but that is surprising.
Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Well, how about the guy, Joy, that broke the story on DeMarcus Cousins going to the Warriors? People are freaking out, and I kind of roll my eyes at this. I don't think he's going to play until February or March. And by the way, it's a one-year deal. I don't know if he had anything else on the market. I think we're overreacting. Now, he also comes off an injury for big athletes that is really, really problematic. So the guy who broke the story, and happy for him, we had him on about a week ago, and he is emerging as a real player in his industry, an NBA insider for Yahoo Sports, Shams Charania. First of all, Shams, congratulations on breaking the story. How did the DeMarcus Cousins trade go down? Because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the signing really went down over the span of 2-3 hours. Him and Draymond Green began talking. You know, him and Draymond became really close through Team USA, as well as Kevin Durant and DeMarcus, and they just started talking. And I think there was general shock, and I think the Warriors were surprised and didn't believe that DeMarcus really was interested in them. But as they started talking, as DeMarcus got on the phone with GM Bob Myers, head coach Steve Kerr, it became clear that this is real. This is something where he was in if they wanted him. And once they told him that, listen, if you really want to come here for the 5.3 mid-level or vet minimum, we'll take you. And once that began, like it was, for him, it was a no-brainer because looking at the market, there wasn't much there for him. New Orleans never made him a formal offer in July. They never even went to go visit him in Las Vegas. They really dropped the ball on this one. You trade Buddy Hield and multiple assets to acquire him a year ago, and you don't even put your best foot forward in trying to re-sign him or Rajon Rondo. That was puzzling to me. But for DeMarcus, this really came out of nowhere, and he really scanned the market, saw there really wasn't anything out there, and said, "Listen, I'm gonna really play chess. I'm gonna go get a ring potentially and get myself healthy. There's no rush for him to come back, get healthy, potentially get a championship ring, and reevaluate the market when there's a lot more teams with salary space next summer."
Shams, the Lakers yesterday, I'm watching all these moves, and my takeaway is, listen, they have an interesting nucleus of young players, but LeBron likes guys with a little fight in them. Rondo's got some fight in him. Lance Stephenson's got some fight in him. Now, are these just magic moves, or do you believe LeBron, in that 3-hour meeting reportedly, said, "Listen, Magic, I like your young guys, but we got to get some. We got to get some dogs here. We got to get a few veterans." I mean, what do you make of the Lakers' moves outside of LeBron in the last day?
If you look at them just one by one, they really don't make much sense. And what I liken it to is kind of how the Cavaliers built their team last year, going into the training camp around LeBron. Guys like Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, these guys that have kind of a chip. Derrick Rose at least had a chip on his shoulder, had something to prove. Jeff Green had a lot to prove. You just bringing guys in, you don't know how they're going to fit. But this really, it reminds me of that. I don't know if that's what LeBron James needs at this stage of his career. A new, fresher breath of air going into a situation, different guys that he hasn't been around. And obviously there's a long, long history between him and Lance. I had a Pacers executive tell me we never saw this in a million years. If you had told us Lance Stevenson and LeBron would play together, we wouldn't believe you guys. So, I think for him, this is just getting guys that really have something to prove and really seeing how they react when they're with LeBron James. He knows all the moves they're making. They're not making this blindly. But they're also building it in a way where there's not much shooting on this roster. I'm surprised they haven't brought in a guy like Jamal Crawford or Wayne Ellington, a shooter on the market, because I think that's what they need next.
I agree with that, by the way. Generally speaking, Shams, that if you have a star who wants out, Orlando got burned by Dwight Howard a few years ago. If the longer you wait, the less leverage, I would argue, you have. And I'll give you an example, is that Kawhi is a different cat. Who's going to give up stuff at the trading deadline for a kid that probably takes a year to build a relationship and trust? I mean, he doesn't trust the Spurs. I find it hard to believe that the Sixers or the Celtics would make a move at the trading deadline, take him in for a couple of months, and think they can build a real trusting relationship. I think the Spurs have to make this move, and they can't be petty and they can't be stubborn. If you don't want to trade him to L.A., good God, at the trading deadline, I'm going to rent him for 3 months? I mean, what do you think the Spurs are going to just keep holding out on this thing?
They're going to be extremely patient. And one thing that's been made abundantly clear, I'm going to stress this, there's no guarantee if Kawhi Leonard hits the market next summer that he's going to re-sign with sign with the Lakers, period. I think his options have broadened a little bit, just inside L.A. There's another team, obviously, in L.A. I think he'd be very much open to the Clippers. And there's a belief around the league that if the Sixers came hard, that there could be a potential there for him potentially being there long term. But none of that has even it hasn't even gotten to the point where a team has reached out to his camp or anyone around him and said, "Listen, would Kawhi do this? Would he be comfortable coming here for this?" I don't think there's much interest in the Boston Celtics scenario for him. But the Spurs are going to hold out, and they're going to continue to keep an open dialogue with him, his camp. But I think, around Kawhi, what's been made abundantly clear is there's not an interest to go join a super team. I don't think he's jumping for joy that LeBron James is in L.A. with the Lakers. If anything, that's going to make him look maybe more toward the Clippers, because this is a guy that won Finals MVP against LeBron James. You think he's amped up and wants to join LeBron now? I think that's been overstated, and the Spurs are beginning to realize that, and beginning to realize that we might have a broadened market for him.
Yeah, I just struggle with anybody. Shams Charania joining us, Yahoo Sports NBA insider. I struggle. I mean, Joy, you and I have talked about this. I would never, Danny Ainge doesn't even like to give up a draft pick. And I've been told they're not giving up Kyrie Irving and they're not giving up Jason Tatum. Kawhi for Jaylen Brown doesn't feel right to me. I mean, Danny Ainge doesn't like to give up picks. The Sixers have said no Fultz, no Simmons, no Embiid. Robert Covington was awful in that Miami series for long stretches. I mean, you tell me, Shams, if you ran a team, would you give up? You're the GM of any team in this league. What would you give up to a kid that has publicly said, I want to go to L.A.? What would you give up?
Listen, if I'm the 76ers, I'm looking into giving up some of these assets. That's Markelle Fultz, Dario Saric, future first-round pick that they got from Miami on draft night. I mean, these are attractive assets. I'm not saying they will, they won't, but, I mean, that's what I would look at if I'm a GM. And I think that's an attractive package. It just kind of depends how your conversations go with Kawhi Leonard at that point, how you feel like, what's your gauge of his mindset? Because you're not giving up any of those assets if Kawhi Leonard is going to walk. That's the conversation that needs to take place. But I don't think they've gotten that far. I don't think the Spurs have gotten that far with the Sixers or any team to where this is even a discussion. But that's what I would do. I would put the best foot forward, and I would get with Kawhi Leonard and gauge his mindset and really push him and prod him. You can't tell me a team with Ben Simmons, Kawhi Leonard, a healthy Kawhi Leonard, and Joel Embiid isn't contending for championships year in and year out.
Shams Charania, Yahoo Sports. He broke the DeMarcus Cousins story. He is on it. A lot of that money's drying up right now. Is anything else going to happen here in the next 48 hours? How much money's left out there to go out and get great players?
The market is incredibly slow right now. I've had multiple top free agents left that are just shaking their heads and asking me why it's going so slow and what's next. What's the next shoe to drop? Listen, there's restricted free agents, Clint Capella, Zach LaVine. Those are probably the two most sought-after free agents now, and both of them, I think the challenge is where are you going to get that offer sheet? Where are you getting that max? I think if either player potentially gets a max sheet, the incumbent team might let them walk. So that's the next, I think, big thing to watch. But you have a lot of mid-level type guys. Jeff Green, you have Jamal Crawford, and Dwight Howard, potentially looming on the back end if he gets a buyout with the Brooklyn Nets. So I think there are a handful of guys that are just waiting around, and the market's really stagnated.
All right, Shams. Good stuff for you. Thanks for joining us.
Yep, Con, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, the Dwight Howard.
It doesn't excite you?
No, I mean, listen, man, to me it's all done. Kawhi is the only one out there. Listen, people are different, right? Like everybody's got a different personality, and our personalities either allow us or disallow us to do certain things. Kawhi Leonard, you're not building trust with him in 3 months. It's just now. Well, what about Paul George? Paul George is talkative. Paul George grew up in Palmdale. It's a small town. Maybe he liked OKC more than we think he did, and Westbrook recruited the heck out of him. Don't compare Kawhi Leonard, who was burned by his current franchise and is really upset. And he's a unique kid. I don't want to, I don't believe in the word normal. I mean, what is normal? He is different, though. You can't build trust with Kawhi Leonard at the trading deadline until the playoffs. Forget it.
He is different, but I don't even know if any superstar can get into a situation like that with playing with other superstars and it go that smoothly. Look at Miami the first year. They took an entire year and it didn't work.
Yeah. Is Kobe Bryant truly happy for LeBron coming here among the many things we're talking about today? Also, Jim Jackson, Rick Bucher, Antonio Daniels is going to lay into me in the last hour. He's one of the voices of the OKC Thunder. He's bringing his anvil to bash me over the head. So unfortunate. It's funny. The All-Star Game's coming up here on Fox July 17th. It's amazing in baseball. Bryce Harper now is hitting like 215, but he's got a bunch of jacks. Analytics in baseball, like in basketball, analytics are you got to shoot threes. Baseball analytics are just hit home runs. Like Bryce Harper now is literally a 215 hitter, and he's a great talent. He'll get $300, $400 million on the market, but baseball's now like don't hit ground balls, jack it in the air. So Harper's average is plummeting, but he and Cody Bellinger hit bombs, and that's all analytics tell you to do. It's funny what happens with analytics in sports. Joy Taylor joining us. Yesterday when the Boogie Cousins situation happened, I wish I could say I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised by the hysteria all over the internet. I see this, good God, every weather story, global weather, there's hysteria on the internet. I see it in politics. Hosts are crying on the air. What's really happened to the media in America is that it's just hyperbolic. Nobody can go, we're going to be all right here. My favorite sandwich is still a peanut butter and jelly sandwich when I get home every day. I still eat apples and bananas. I don't have this idea that everything's changing in America. No, it's not. We're all looking for love, laughs, and a good steak. That's the same damn thing I've been looking for 25 years. I'm going out tonight with a buddy having a steak and a beer. That's what I did a month ago, and 10 years ago, and 15 years ago, and 20 years ago. And this morning it's like, oh my God, the sky is falling, DeMarcus Cousins. Just think about this. That the problem in the NBA to me is not the dynasty. The problem is the lopsided nature east to west talent. 28 of the top 31 players in the league are Western players. ESPN and TNT don't want the Eastern Conference playoffs. They would, if they could opt out of those, they'd opt out of them. It's a nightmare outside of the Celtics. But I was thinking about this. Take Oklahoma City. Westbrook, Paul George, Melo, Steve Adams, Andre Roberson. For the next 3 and 4 years, that's a very relevant team. Do I think they win a title? No. Do I think they're dysfunctional? Somewhat. But they're really talented. They'll win playoff series. Just think about this. For all of those of you saying, this league is in real trouble, let's just talk Western Conference. Golden State's a dynasty. That's never bad for any league. Houston is their number one rival and had them down 3-2. The Lakers have the world's best player. Oklahoma City is star-studded, albeit dysfunctional. Minnesota has 2, maybe 3 elite players. The Spurs are the Patriots of the NBA. Utah's Celtics light. That's 7 really talented teams in the West. I have not mentioned Portland, which has the second best backcourt in the league. New Orleans, who has maybe the third best player in Anthony Davis. Or Denver, probably the most anonymously talented roster in the league. I'm 10 deep in the West, not to mention the Celtics. Vegas, and I agree, will win about 58 games next year and challenge the Warriors. In 2 of the last 3 years, Golden State's been in a Game 7 in the Western Conference Finals. The dynasty is not the issue. I've been watching this league for 40 years. This is the deepest any conference has ever been. The West goes 10 deep until you get to like a Denver. Denver is not an easy out. The last 3 seasons for the Warriors, they've had a Game 7 against the Thunder. They got lucky, too. Kawhi got hurt. The Spurs were up 20. Kawhi got hurt. They've gotten breaks. Houston was up. Chris Paul got hurt. They have been facing elimination. OKC was up on them. Kawhi got hurt. Spurs up on him. Rockets, Chris Paul got hurt. They were down 3-2. The issue is there's just too many of the great players are all on the West Coast. And I don't have 20. I think there's only 4 elite players to me in the East. Giannis, Simmons, Embiid, and Kyrie Irving. Then a bunch of good guys. There's Gordon Hayward, Al Horford, that kind of stuff, John Wall. 27 of the 31 best players in this league are in the West. Now, that's a problem. I never had a problem with the SEC winning national championships. But there was about a 10-year stretch where it wasn't close. Right now, the Big Ten's loaded. Michigan's good. Wisconsin's good. Penn State's good. Ohio State's good. I don't have a problem if Alabama wins this year. Because the Big Ten, you go look at the All-American teams, it's all big. There's a ton of Big Ten guys. There's a ton of Big Ten guys. Tell me there's no competition. The Thunder have had these guys down. LeBron's team in Cleveland did beat them. Houston's had them down, and the Spurs gave them trouble before Kawhi got hurt. The dynasty is not the issue here. There was a time when you had 8 teams in the SEC in the top 25. Like, that worries me. When the Yankees were just buying all the good players, nobody could compete financially. That worries me. I'm never worried when you have a dynasty, which is already showing signs of fatigue, brings in an incredibly problematic player on a 1-year deal. He won't be ready until March. And there's a lot of belief around the NBA right now. This team is ready to lose. I mean, this is not a team that's, when Notre Dame played Alabama in the championship and Alabama was up 35-0 at half, that's not good. The Western Conference Finals, Golden State Houston had the highest rating in 20 years. Don't tell me it wasn't competitive. Don't tell me it wasn't compelling. You're the viewer. I can't. If Joy and I get a TV ratings book, we can't fill it out. We're not allowed in our industry to fill it out. Those are numbers that you're telling us you watched the Western Conference Finals. So, what about the NBA Finals? Ratings were fine. Ratings were great the first 2 games of the series till the refs butchered it. What happened in the NBA Finals, nobody watched Game 4 on a Friday night because it was over. First 2 games of the Finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, huge ratings. Western Conference Finals, huge ratings. First 2 games of the Finals before the refs butchered it, huge ratings. Don't tell me the NBA is in trouble. We don't have a dynasty issue. We have a, why the hell do all the good players go west? That's the issue. And I'm telling you, Joy, I love theories in sports. I can't figure it out. Mark Cuban said it's just because there's just more good GMs in the West and they've made smarter moves. That could very well be it.
Or maybe just because there was already good players there, they want to play with other good players
that could
in
be
order
it.
to get closer to a championship.
Yeah.
But dynasties are not a problem. If you look back in the history of the NBA, there's always been dynasties.
Good God, the Lakers and Celtics ran the league for like 12 years. Your problem is when the Detroit Pistons win it or the Sonics win it. Or like in golf right now, we're all waiting for a superstar. That's the problem in sports. Remember, ratings are truth serum, and you fill out the ratings books. We're not allowed to. If we get them, and I've gotten one before, you got to call the company and say, I'm mailing it back. Or else you get in trouble. Now, I wish I could fill him out because I would just put the Herd. He's the best I've ever heard. I listen to him all day.
Of course.
Hour 2, FS1. Here we come. This is the Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me. 2 hours left in the show today. It has been rambunctious already, all fired up, and it is great to have our World Cup viewers in. Let me start with this. You know LeBron now is a Laker. And the Lakers have an incredibly rich tradition, Joy. George Mikan, Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, Wilt, Shaq, Magic, Worthy, Kobe. It's just star after star after star after star. And there is this feeling now, we got a story a day ago that Kobe Bryant, that guy can be selfish, right? No. He got on the phone with LeBron James and tried to recruit him here. And people in Los Angeles, somebody came up to me yesterday and said, oh, come on, you don't buy that, do you? And I said, well, kind of. So Kobe was on with my friend Doug Gottlieb yesterday, Fox Sports Radio, and was asked this very question. Here it is.
Okay, so for a long time in L.A., if you're on Team Kobe, you can't be on Team LeBron, right? You can't, right? You're taking the high road. You're welcome into your city, welcome into your team. But you have to tell NBA fans, Laker fans, how do you really feel about LeBron James wearing your team's jersey?
I love it. Jerry was here, Elgin Baylor was here, Wilt was here, Magic was here, Cap was here, Shaq, myself, and now let's carry it forward again. He'll take this franchise back to its prominence, man. So I'm excited.
Do you believe that? I do, and let me explain why. First of all, Kobe is obsessive. He's perhaps the most competitive Laker ever. Arguably, along with Michael, the most competitive player in the league history. That's his personality. He's been very impressive post-career. Why? My sources tell me because he took his obsessive nature in basketball and put it into digital movies in his business. He just won an Oscar for an animated short. He's got a new series on a rival network to ours called Details. I'm told it's outstanding. He got involved in the LeBron to the Lakers pursuit, and he's starting a hedge fund, a $100 million hedge fund. The thing about personalities is they allow us to do certain things and often disallow us to do certain things. Joy always jokes she's petty. I've got my baggage too. But let's just talk Lakers for a second. Let's talk all Lakers stars for a second. They've all been very unique personalities. Wilt Chamberlain was flaky, never truly committed, although the greatest basketball player in the world. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was, always been aloof. Jerry West, regal, stately. Magic was inclusive and warm, and he still is. Shaq, since he was a kid, today on television, he's playful. And Kobe has always been obsessive. Kobe is happy for LeBron, as happy as his personality allows him to be. You've got one and I've got one. There's things our personality won't let us do. Kobe's a light sleeper, thinks constantly, competitive to a fault. Wouldn't leave the gym if he lost a game of horse to Smush Parker. That's who Kobe is. It's why he's a top 10 player ever. It's why he's been so darn successful so quickly out of basketball. He just simply shifted his obsessiveness to his new toys. Kobe is happy as Kobe can be for another great Laker moving into town and becoming the talk of that town. And with that, we bring on Jim Jackson. It was a wild day of overreaction yesterday as Boogie Cousins signed on with the Warriors. And Jimmy, 14 years in the NBA, people freaked out. Right. What was your initial reaction?
I was surprised by how it went down. Not the fact that, okay, he signed, but you're talking about a 25, 13, and 5 guy. All-star. No phone calls. Nothing. You talking about reality check? Colin, that is like, best way to describe it, you're on top of the mountain in regards to where you may be in your career. You've proven yourself, but now all of a sudden, because of injury, because of past, I would say, transgressions brought upon by yourself, now you're going to free agency and nobody calls. Nobody picks up the phone.
I'm not shocked by it. You know why? Because New Orleans swept Portland. And I think people looked at that and went, they're better without him.
Yeah, they are. And, I think, too, what he was looking for was a little bit more security in regards to longer-term deals, where maybe some of the teams he was talking to was like, well, a one-year deal, you got to prove yourself. But I do think this, though. I think as a player like that, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, who do I want to be? And I thought DeMarcus did a great job of really maturing in New Orleans. Think about it from the DeMarcus we saw in Sacramento to what we saw in New Orleans, a different player in regards to personality-wise. We didn't see a lot of the outbursts. Sometimes on the court, because he's competitive, he's going to do that. But we didn't hear about a lot of the locker room stuff that maybe we heard in Sacramento. And this could be for him what he needs.
This is exactly what it is. I have no problem. My biggest problem is when the Yankees could just pay more money for players.
Right.
That's not good for a sport. Golden State's become the Patriots. Good players. Randy Moss, who maybe needs to resurrect his image, goes, I'm going to go to New England, play for about a year, resurrect my image with Tom Brady, and then he eventually becomes Randy Moss a little, and he leaves.
Yeah.
That's all Boogie Cousins is doing. It's like he is the Randy Moss. Super talented, all-star level, people in awe, been a problem. Go to Golden State, resurrect your image. He's not going to play till probably February or March. I don't think he's there 2-3 years. I think he's done in a year.
Well, think about this. 2019, Clay is up, Draymond is up, and also Kevin Durant is up.
Thank you.
And then Boogie is a free agent. So you know that the priority is those other three. So for Boogie, you got a chance to play half a season, potentially get a championship, resurrect your career in who you are, have people look at you differently.
It's a talent league, man. If you go and have 2 big playoff games.
That's all he needs.
That's it.
Now, see, the question is going to be, too, when he comes back. We've seen this with Golden State and Steve Kerr because of matchups. At times, he couldn't play JaVale McGee.
That's right.
So it's going to be some times in the playoffs, he's healthy and back playing, that maybe his minutes are reduced. How does he handle that? Okay, it's great when you're playing, okay? I want to compete for a championship. But that's going to be the test, and I think the marker for him moving forward. How he handles that situation when he's not playing a lot of minutes.
Let's shift to LeBron and the Lakers. He's here. Yesterday, they make a series of moves that many see are head-scratching. Rondo's trouble. He's a Laker. Lance Stephenson's kooky. He's a Laker. JaVale McGee's weird. He's a Laker. How did those moves land for you?
Short term. Because LeBron James committed to at least 3 years. Because I say 3 because he can opt out of his deal after 3, even though it's a 4-year contract. He's given them the leeway to say, we know that probably in the first year we're not going to win a championship, but we're going to set the groundwork to win a championship in year 2.
Which is a bunch of one-year deals that we can get out of next year and make a huge bid for Klay Thompson or Kawhi.
Or you look at it too, depending on what DeMarcus does this year, he's back on the table. So you got more options in 2019. And think about this. The funny thing about the West is we talk about how great it is and how competitive. But what teams are really going to push Golden State?
I think Houston's still really viable.
I like Houston, but you lose Ariza. Okay, you lose Ariza. Chris Paul's going to be a year older coming off an injury. So you put the Lakers right in this situation. Okay, Portland, you really don't trust. Denver, you're trying to figure out. You love Utah. Okay, they're up and coming. Minnesota, question marks. Okay, so as tough as the West is, the Lakers position themselves this year to make some noise. Next year is where you really look at them really taking that next step and probably edging out Houston and really pushing Golden State.
Yeah, the way I look at LeBron, he didn't win his first year in Miami. He didn't win his first year in Cleveland. He committed to 3, probably 4 years. And if he can be a viable title contender, years 2, 3, 4, win 1, you're out, you retire at 37. He's won 3 different places. The GOAT conversation comes back. Okay, so you got to tell me this. This is one of these things. So I look at Paul George and Westbrook. Everybody knows I'm rough on Westbrook.
Really?
I would say I'm fair-minded. Okay.
But he comes up in conversations sometimes he has no business with you. And you go back and you talk about Westbrook.
Okay. But I have said, Westbrook's personality, I just said this about Kobe. There's things that allows Westbrook to do and things it doesn't. He's not a social animal. He says the basketball is my best friend. But I will say this. Desperation does funny things. It makes smokers stop smoking. If you go to a doctor and you're a smoker, you're going to die. You'll quit smoking. You'll quit drinking. That's desperation, fear. The one thing I'll say about Westbrook, from the people I trust, he knew his reputation was taking a beating. He knew how crazy he looked in that Utah series. He knew he was getting a reputation as wacko Westbrook. And you know what? I think he read the page. He said he didn't know anything. He said he didn't listen. You guys all listen.
Oh, we listen.
He knew his reputation took a beating, and this is where I give Westbrook credit. He showed Paul love. And you guys are all alphas. You like to be loved.
Well, yeah, and I think also, let's back up, too. I think the introduction when Paul George came in, he was very impressed with Sam Presti in the organization. That right there, I think, started to plant the seeds of maybe this would be a place I can land after my free agency. But think about it from Paul George's perspective. When it was all about L.A., it was about him going to L.A., okay? Kind of the alpha, the superstar. If you're Paul George and you're thinking, okay, if I go to L.A. with LeBron, we crack the cheat code a little bit and maybe push Golden State, who gets the credit? Is it Paul George or is it LeBron?
LeBron.
Okay, and when stuff doesn't go right, who gets the blame?
Paul George.
Okay.
And by the way, then the Kawhi story breaks. Now he's a third wheel in L.A.
But here's the thing. You're at OKC. You make some headway. You make it further. You exceed expectations.
Hero.
Now you're the hero. Along with the fact that you love the organization and you've grown fonder in relationship, personal, on and off the court with Russell Westbrook. Okay, so these decisions that players made, they think is impromptu. But years and years of being in this situation have put Paul George in a situation where he's made a decision that's best for him. Forget the Lakers. This is what's best for me right now based on A, B, C, and D, and that's why he chose to do it.
Jim Jackson, good having you. Rick Bucher later in the hour. Thanks, bud. Back in L.A., it's The Herd.
Catch Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, and the rest of baseball's biggest stars for an unforgettable show from the nation's capital, the MLB All-Star Game, July 17th, only on Fox, or stream it live on the Fox Sports app.
Bryce Harper hit his 21st jack last night. Nice to have you in, Colin Cowherd, Joy Taylor. It is The Herd. Rick Bucher joining us in a few minutes. You know, DeMarcus Cousins signed with the Warriors, and everybody freaked out, and there's no competition, and blah, blah, blah. Listen, man, this is what's happening in America, and people are attracted to various stars assembling together. Look at right now concerts, these festivals, Cal Jam, Stagecoach, Coachella, where you can get Cardi B, Kanye West, The Weeknd, Eminem, all jammed into one festival for a weekend. That's the new hot thing. An individual artist, doesn't create much of a buzz. When it comes to concerts, it's all about now the festival, multiple stars. Look at movies, Avenger movies. Nobody wants to watch just Batman. They want to see multiple superheroes at the same time. Did you see the ratings for the Western Conference Finals? They were the best in 20 years. Why? 6 superstars in one series. Steph and Clay and KD and Draymond and Chris Paul and Harden. We're very comfortable with this, assembling stars. What 2 college basketball programs are the most talked about, viewed, discussed? Kentucky and Duke. because of their recruiting power, because of their ability to get 5 of the top 6 high school basketball phenoms and prodigies every year. Parity in sports is healthy eating. People say they do it. People claim they want to do it. But every time I drive home past an In-N-Out, there's 20 cars in the drive-thru. You tell me you love parity, but when we give it to you, golf, you don't watch. You tell me you eat healthy. There's 18,000 McDonald's in America. Okay? Those Saturday food markets that have healthy food, they get a nice little crowd of 170 people. In-N-Out serves 400 in 2 hours.
You don't get your produce from the farmer's market?
I like the farmer's market. And I see myself as a guy who eats healthy. And you know what I had at 9 o'clock last night? A cocktail and a quesadilla. And I try to eat healthy. Okay? The World Cup has only had 8 countries ever win it. Stop fighting for something you don't truly like. We like our movies. We like our concerts. We like our sports. We're okay with assembling multiple stars. The numbers prove it. You absolutely will watch a Warriors-Celtics final. And I'll take the Celtics because they'll both win 60 games next year. And I think the fatigue is setting in for the Warriors. Here's Joey with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
So the DeMarcus Cousins signing caused a few reactions around the NBA world yesterday. Obviously, sports fans were flipping out, but players were too. And one that was happy to chime in was Enes Kanter. He posted a series of tweets in response to the big news. He posted a photoshopped image of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver in a Warriors uniform. Not very smart, if you ask me, but Adam Silver has agreed to a mid-level extension with Golden State. League sources tell me, and includes a little bomb, like a little Cantor bomb, and the laughing emoji. And he also posted a video of someone torching a piece of paper with the NBA logo on it with the caption, "Mood all around the league." So, obviously, he is overreacting. But I will tell you, I do think a lot of players around the league and a lot of former players do have a little bit of animosity towards this idea of teaming up, and especially towards the Warriors. I don't think it's fair. I think what you said earlier makes perfect sense. Get a better GM, do a better job at drafting, do a better job at managing your salaries and your contracts, and then you too can be the Warriors, because everyone forgets that they drafted Steph, Clay, and Draymond. That's the core of their team.
Yeah, Clay went 11, Steph went 7, and Draymond was second round. And by the way, when Kevin Durant was available on the market, Derrick Rose was too cool to recruit. Westbrook, my best friends of basketball, their entire team got in a jet, went to the Hamptons, and recruited him. So they drafted Clay smartly, Draymond smartly, Steph smartly, and then they went out and got the best free agent available in the market smartly. Anything about the Warriors, it would be different if they just had more money and could spend it. That's gross. Baseball with the Yankees 20 years ago, it was gross. 10 years ago, when they had this huge regional TV network and nobody else did. What the Warriors are doing, what the Patriots are doing. They're just smarter than you.
I couldn't agree more. I understand why it's annoying for fans who are not Warriors fans, but you should be mad at different people, probably your own team. So after taking a brief hiatus from Instagram, Cam Newton is back. He deleted all of his posts and unfollowed the majority of his previous followers earlier this offseason.
Cam Newton did?
Cam Newton did. But he's back, and he wants you to eat healthy and work out, Colin. He posted this motivational message on his story. Let's take a listen.
Here it is.
Get something straight. I want to get something straight. Like, when I'm showing you these clips, like what I'm doing, I'm not doing this just to show face. I'm showing this to get your up off your ass and do some.
He looks thinner, actually, in the face.
He does in the face.
He looks like he's lost 25 pounds.
I was going to say that. This is Cam Newton. I don't personally respond to that kind of motivation when it comes to working out. As soon as the trainer starts yelling, I'm like, all right, I don't really have to be here. Yeah. I kind of choose to be here. I'm a hot yoga person. I do hot yoga like 3 or 4 times.
Bikram yoga?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like 100 degrees
Oh,
in there.
God.
It's nice. You sweat it all out.
Yeah, on the carpet. So you get on the carpet and you smell the last guy.
There's no carpet. You bring your own mat in your own
I went to a
clean
cheap
yoga mat.
Bikram yoga place. I went to a discount.
that?
I went to a discount Bikram yoga place.
Oh, there was carpet?
Oh, it grossed me out.
Carpet creeps me out to begin with.
It smelled like a cat litter box.
I'm
and
sure
I
it
said, like,
did.
I'm done with this thing.
You put your face on the...
Yeah, well, whatever. I didn't know. It was Larry's Bikram yoga joint, and I made a horrible
That was a
call.
bad choice.
Yeah.
That was a bad choice, Colin. I know you're a big Josh Rosen fan.
Yes.
And we know one of the biggest critiques of Rosen is that he's too smart.
Yeah.
And you predicted that's not going to turn out to be a bad thing in the NFL. One person in particular who's been blown away by Rosen's IQ is Cardinals All-Pro cornerback Patrick Peterson, who had this to say about the rookie quarterback.
Josh blew my mind my first week with him, just to see him run hurry up offense, to see him make all these different checks, to see him put guys in position. I was completely stunned when I saw that. I was like, this guy's only been here a week and he's already doing what? I was very, very impressed with that, and he's definitely the future of our franchise. I believe we finally found this one. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully he can have that same determination, that same competitive edge that he had when he was at UCLA to help us get us over the top as well.
I think honestly Josh Rosen got bored with college. And I've seen kids do this in high school and college. You know, Bill Gates didn't graduate college. I think Josh Rosen is got a little bit of that, where after about a year and a half in college, he was like, same offense, remedial. I think, it doesn't
He needs to be challenged.
I think he totally needs to be challenged. Let me tell you something. This is not the first person. John Elway was a better NFL player than a college player. Like, we've seen this in basketball occasionally, where Michael Jordan was a much better NBA player than a college player because Dean Smith had kind of an antiquated offense. They slowed it down. I think Josh Rosen's going to be a better NFL player than a college player. I think the college game was too remedial. It didn't challenge him. I think he got bored intellectually with it. And if he can, that offensive line's not great in Arizona. It's not good at all. Their next big thing is to rebuild that O-line. The defense is fine. Josh is good. I like the coach. I like the staff. That offensive line's unathletic. It's not good. It's mostly bad. But I think he's going to flourish if he can stay upright and healthy.
Well, if the offensive line is not good, that's not a good sign for the Cardinals, because Sam Bradford is the one behind that. So Josh Rosen may see some time this year then. You think he'll be the most successful out of this year's class?
My theory on Josh was he would be the first out of all these guys to start. I think Sam Darnold will be the most successful 10 years into it. But I think the early success, a lot of it due to his intellect and his pocket presence, I think Josh will have the best rookie year of all of them, as long as he can beat out Sam Bradford, which is, Bradford, when he's healthy, can play.
But he's very unreliable.
Yeah, he's very, very, physically he's unreliable. That's Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
So, it's interesting. Yesterday I'm walking around, and I told the story yesterday about how the LeBron story broke Sunday for me. So I was in Utah, took last weekend off, and I knew I was going to, last week off, Joy and I did, and we knew we were going to come back, and this was going to be the Laker, LeBron, Sixer, Celtic free agent week. So we strategized. Joy took last weekend off, I took last weekend off, and I flew back. I was in Utah with the family, flew back Sunday. And so I was told the LeBron Laker thing. I was actually told LeBron was making a decision, but probably Tuesday morning. That's what I was told. Monday night, Tuesday morning. So I get on the treadmill. I go work out at the club, get on the treadmill, get off the treadmill, soaking wet, walk into the men's locker room, and a guy comes up to me and he said, "What do you think about the Lakers and LeBron?" And I said, "I think it's about a 60-40 chance that he goes, No, it happened." And I went, "What?" He goes, "Here's my phone." And I'm like, okay. And, it's interesting. Over the last 24 hours, yesterday I went to the grocery store, I go to the car wash, do all those things. I had a couple people come up to me and say, do you think it's the right move? I mean, he had the Sixers had to, and I said, yes. One of the narratives that's out there, I just do not believe at all, is he's going to lose in the Western Conference. He's not even going to get to the finals. I know. And that's not a bad thing. Gang, we have never, ever held it against legends in years they didn't make it to the championship game. We never have for any American athlete, ever. When I say Tom Brady, you think 8 Super Bowls, 5-3. You don't think, well, 18 years, he's 5-13. 5 Super Bowls, 13 years, he didn't win the Super Bowl. No, you think 5-3. When I say Joe Montana, 4 for 4. But he played 15 years. You don't count the years he didn't make it to the championship. What are the numbers we think about Joey with Michael Jordan? 6 for 6. Whoa. But he played for 15 years. You don't go, Michael Jordan, 6 and 9. No, he's 6 for 6.
Those other years, they don't count.
Yeah, we don't count the years you don't get to the championship. We don't hold it against you at a bar, having a beer with a buddy 20 years ago talking sports. Now suddenly we're going to hold it against LeBron because he can't take Kyle Kuzma past a dynasty? Nobody will talk about this. By the time he gets to the finals, he'll probably have a player like Kawhi and LeBron and Boogie Cousins. Maybe Rondo's still here. Kyle Kuzma's become close to an all-star. Listen, LeBron clearly over the last several years saw this, that he was putting up massive numbers, taking a weak roster to the finals, being bludgeoned, and you weren't giving them any credit for it. So LeBron said, wait a minute. People are holding it against me going to the finals and getting clobbered. So clearly it's about having the best roster, not just getting there. You punished him for all his achievement. You don't punish MJ for that. You don't punish MJ because he was 1-9 before Pippen in the playoffs. You don't punish Brady in the years he didn't get to the Super Bowl. We never do for any athlete. So now suddenly we're going to punish LeBron because he gets to the Western Conference Finals and can't beat a dynasty? Or he gets knocked out by Houston or Golden State? Listen, here's the best way to look at it. I was always impressed that Magic Johnson got to 9 finals. He was 5-4. I'm not into the perfect business. Like, I don't believe, I'm not one of these people paralyzed by, I'm not a perfect dad. I'm not a perfect husband. I'm not a perfect sportscaster. I think Tom Brady getting to 8 Super Bowls, albeit losing 3, is more impressive than Montana going 4 for 4. I think Magic Johnson getting to 9 finals when there was a dynasty on the other coast is every bit as impressive. 5-4, 9 appearances as 6-6. Michael Jordan retired twice. Went 1-9 before Pippen. Think about this. LeBron James has played 15 years. He's had 9 finals appearances, meaning he gets to the finals more than he doesn't. 60%. Who would I equate that to? Tom Brady. Tom Brady, 18 years, 8 Super Bowl appearances, similarly 60%. That's the number that jumps out to me, and I'm not a guy paralyzed by numbers or perfection. You know, I can remember having a discussion a long time ago about business. And this was a very smart guy, and he owned a bunch of radio stations, and he owned a bunch of TV stations, and he was retiring. And this was like a long time ago. And he said, listen, man, you got to be in the game. You got to take chances. You got to roll the dice. You can't worry about occasionally. He's like, listen, and he used a baseball analogy. A Hall of Famer hits 300. He goes, if any businessman tells you I've never failed, then he's not an entrepreneur. You look at all these guys who have Uber and YouTube and Google and Apple, all these investors, they bat like 10%. They'll put $1 million in 10 companies, 1 hits. You can't be afraid of failure. You can't be paralyzed by perfection. LeBron James and Tom Brady get to their championship game more than they don't. That's unbelievable. That is incredible that LeBron James 60% of the time gets to the championship games. By the way, he's had to face a San Antonio dynasty. Now he's got to face a Golden State dynasty. Michael never faced a dynasty. Oh, wait, he did. Detroit and Boston. And he couldn't get to the championship in their primes. As I've said many times, if Chicago, like in hockey, was a Western Conference team, Michael would have gotten to the finals more and lost to the Pistons and lost to Larry Bird and the Celtics. Part of his 6 for 6 is just geographical. But Chicago was in the East. So by the time Michael got to the finals, he didn't have to face dynasties. He'd face a very good Portland team or a very good Seattle team or a very good Utah team. If Chicago was in the West, like they are in hockey, he would have lost to the Pistons multiple years and lost to Bird Celtics in multiple years. Good stuff. Coming up next, Rick Bucher, right around the corner. It's The Herd. I was just talking with my next guest, who I've known for years. Let's bring him out. Rick Bucher, senior writer, Bleacher Report. I am recruiting Bukes. Get down here to L.A. Get off your surfboard. He's a surfer, Joy. He's a Bay Area surfer guy.
Ooh, that water's cold, huh?
No kidding. Sharks.
There are definitely sharks in that water.
Great white sharks down there.
You know what they say?
What?
You have a better chance of getting hit by lightning than getting eaten by a shark.
Yeah, but both are awful. So let's just not risk it with either. How about that? I'm not on the top of the mountain in a lightning storm doing this. You're out there with great whites on a board.
Like, I feel like if you walk around just in life, you have a chance of getting struck by lightning. But if I don't get in the ocean, there is no chance I get eaten by a shark.
That's a very good point. Hey, listen, I'm listening to radio in the last couple of days, you guys. Everybody's freaking out. God, the NBA, nobody talks baseball. I can't figure these people out. Does everybody understand that the Western Conference Finals ratings were the highest in 20 years because you had 6 stars in one series?
Yes.
Rick, you and I have been in this business. Joy's been in it for about 10 years, probably, Joy. You and I have been in this over 20.
Yep.
I've never seen the NBA this powerful.
Yep.
Ever.
Yeah.
Have you?
Well, and the bottom line, you'd have to go back to when the Bulls were in their heyday with Jordan.
Yeah.
And the formula is the same. You need a stalking horse. People compare it to the NFL in terms of parity. Parity is what sells. That's not how the NBA works. You need that superstar team that everybody is gunning for, and it doesn't matter if everybody has a chance of winning a championship. You just need the top 2, 3, 4 teams to have the biggest stars, and that's what we have. The ratings for the finals fell off from the time that Jordan retired. Yeah. Well, but this year was a little bit different. Let's face it. The finals were really the Western Conference finals. Right. Nonetheless, the numbers say that the ratings were not as high until the Warriors and the Cavs began their run against each other. Prior to that, you'd have to go back to when Jordan retired, that the numbers were as high in the ratings in the finals.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. People freaked out about the DeMarcus Cousins signing. I mean, I had friends texting me, this is bad for the NBA. And I'm like, dude, he tore his Achilles. He's almost 300 pounds. He's not going to be the same player.
Exactly. No player ever has. If you look at this injury has ended careers.
Ended him.
Chauncey Billups effectively ended his career. Anderson Varejao, Mehmet Okur. You could okay, so those guys were in their 30s. But you look at Elton Brand. Elton Brand was a 2-time All-Star.
Never the same player.
Double machine. He played 9 more seasons. He was never the same player. And you're not going to get him until February. So you look at all of this. I'm the same way. When I first saw it, when somebody texted me, I was asking him about, with Rondo going to the Lakers, what does this mean about Cousins? And they go, Warriors. I go, what? It just caught me off guard.
And you didn't love it.
And I still say that there are as many question marks. First of all, you're not going to see him until January or February.
By the way, earliest January. A lot of people suspect it's March.
Very possible. Okay, so now, and we saw with the Cavs, you got to work guys in at the trade deadline. What's that going to be like? They're going to try to convince him, you should come off the bench. You should lead our second unit.
Good.
This is a guy who's going to be on a 1-year, $5.3 million deal.
Trying to prove stuff.
Trying to prove that he deserves a max deal still. Are you going to be willing to come off the bench and play the role that they want you to play with that in the back of your mind? And by the way, this is not a tryout for the Warriors. The Warriors do not have the wherewithal to re-sign him. So he's basically trying to present himself to he's auditioning for every other team in the league.
By the way, the Pelicans, you can argue, don't sweep Portland with him. They were very good without him. I actually think, Rick, Rondo to the Lakers?
Yeah.
Rondo had a good postseason. Rondo is a little bit what the passive-aggressive Lonzo isn't. He's a dog.
For sure.
I think, I saw all these moves yesterday in L.A., and people are like, oh, this is a barnyard musical. I'm like, actually, Rondo and Lonzo, I'm like, I like Rondo to the Lakers.
This is what they got out of it. They knew that they couldn't sign players that fit LeBron James from a basketball standpoint.
Okay.
So what they did is they went out and got guys that he respects. All of these guys have demonstrated that they don't fear LeBron. And if you think that LeBron isn't signing off on every single thing that they do, then you don't know LeBron and you don't know the way this league works. If Rajon is there, if JaVale is there, if Lance Stevenson is there, it's because LeBron is good with them being there. And all three of those guys have demonstrated, we're not afraid of you. So if LeBron's going to play with guys, he talks about it. Like, not everybody wants to win a championship. Not everybody's a dog. Well, whether it fits basketball-wise or not, the fact is LeBron got three guys that he respects, and he's going to be willing to try to figure it out with.
I was saying this to start the hour. Rick Bucher, senior writer, Bleacher Report, well-connected dude, has been all over these stories that all of us have unique personalities. And, Sammy, if you could put this up in regards to the Lakers, I could take the all-time great Lakers. And our personalities, your personality, Rick, allows you to do certain things and disallows it. Wilt was a flake, never totally committed. Shaq is still playful. Magic's warm and inclusive. Kareem is aloof. Jerry is regal. And Kobe's obsessive.
Yes.
I do think Kobe is as happy as Kobe allows himself to be with LeBron. I think he's secure. But I don't think Kobe is ever truly happy because of his obsessive, competitive nature. He's never going to be able to say, Magic was better than me. He doesn't think Magic's better than him at ping pong.
Right.
So, when LeBron comes to town and people say Kobe's being phony, no, I think he's as okay with it as his personality allows him to be.
You're absolutely right. Look, when the whole Shaq-Kobe thing went down, the reason that Kobe was good with Shaq leaving was because everybody was saying, if Penny Hardaway or Vince Carter, if they had Shaq and they had been on those teams, they would have done what Kobe did. You have no idea how much that ticked him off. He was like, really? You think I can't win championships?
You think I'm T-Mac?
Yeah, right? No. Let me show you. This is in reverse. He's like, oh, you guys compare LeBron to me all the time. Let's bring him to L.A. Let's have him play with the team, the kind of teams that I played at 33, 34. And you know what? I got to the second round. And, I lost to the Thunder, but I lost to a young, up-and-coming Kevin Durant, Russ Westbrook. Is LeBron James going to take this crew in L.A. at this stage of his career and do all that? Now, you're an optimist. You believe that the Lakers are going to be a force in the Western Conference.
No, you're my witness.
I was here yesterday.
Force is strong.
Do we need to play the tape?
Force is strong. You said 51 wins, right?
I think they're a 50-win team this year, largely due to the dysfunction with Kawhi in San Antonio and Golden State and Houston resting veteran players in the regular season. Utah wants a home court advantage. Lakers want a home court advantage. Minnesota does. Houston, Golden State, San Antonio don't care.
Okay, but ultimately, does the regular season really matter? I mean, we're talking about where do they stand you can get 51 wins, and if you're out in the first round, have they really accomplished anything?
You think that's what's going to happen?
I think it could.
Oh, boy.
I think it could. Absolutely. We saw how young guys perform, and this was in the Eastern Conference. They got through some things, and this was still with a Kevin Love there. Look at where the Cavs went when they got into trouble. They went to the veterans. They went to J.R. Smith. They went to Tristan Thompson. They went to the guys that LeBron could trust. Who are the veterans? I mean, they may unearth Luol Deng and bring him back because at least that's a veteran that LeBron James may actually trust when it comes to the most important part of the season.
As a guy who covers this league, does LeBron to the Lakers make you happy? How do you view it? Macro, how do you view it?
It makes me happy because it's something new.
That's what I say. I was over Cleveland.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Bored.
Absolutely. And I really want to see him. I want to see him in the Kobe shoes. I know it's different, but still, playing in L.A., playing for the Lakers, carrying that mantle. He went back to Cleveland. There's no pressure there. He wanted to bring them a championship. But if he didn't, he was just being a long line of guys who hadn't won a championship in Cleveland. With the Lakers, it's different. You've already bought into it. You've bought into it. Like, oh, he's with the Lakers. It's LeBron. Here we go. Where are we going? I don't think we're going anywhere. But the expectation is he's bringing back the glory days.
Yeah. When do you think the Kawhi thing gets done?
If he goes to Philadelphia, I think it's sooner than later.
Well, you cannot build a trusting relationship in 3 months with Kawhi Leonard's personality. Yeah. The reason Paul stayed in OKC is they loved him for a year. Mm-hmm. You can't make that move in February.
No, but I believe that San Antonio, in order to regain sort of the leverage here, I think people are looking at this a little different, in that the longer it goes, the less leverage they have.
I think so.
It really depends on. Well, it depends on how things go with Kawhi. Like this idea that he's going to sit out the year, like he's threatening that. First of all, that would throw water on the whole idea that the reason that he didn't play this past season was because of the injury. You're immediately, if he's sitting out and not playing this year, you're going to go, oh, you know what? He did that because he was unhappy, not because he was hurt.
Right.
Well, that changes the whole perception of Kawhi Leonard. He can't afford to do that. And by the way, he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. You're going to go 2 years without playing and then hit the open market? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of faith in what Kawhi Leonard is. I don't think you can sit out 2 years just as an athlete and sit out 2 years and then expect to come back and not have people have questions.
I think the Spurs are leaking stories. Celtics, Sixers, a lot of interest. Danny Ainge won't give up second-round draft picks.
You think
he's giving up Jason Tatum?
He has this image of being, some people call him Trader Dan. Look at his history. He doesn't do crazy things. He and Daryl Morey always have their name out there. They're always interested. But what they actually offer is completely different. He doesn't make crazy deals.
Ever. He struggles. He wants to win deals.
Every time. Every time.
So if you're getting Kawhi, you're going to have to give up Kyrie. He won't.
Nope.
Tatum. He won't.
Well, here's the other part, too.
30 seconds.
Yeah, here's the other part that people haven't considered. Are you really going to acquire Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Gordon Hayward coming off of his injury? You're going to build around 3 injury-prone guys?
Wow, that's a great point.
That's why I'm here.
That is I had never even thought of that. I may have to use you more regularly. I never even thought of that. My giant brain usually figures that crap out in the meeting in the morning. Rick Bucher's awesome. Last hour next. Hour number 3 live. This is The Herd. Wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. Joy Taylor is joining me. By the way, in 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, Antonio Daniels, former NBA player, buddies of Tim Duncan, Oklahoma City broadcaster, is going to come and take his hacks at me because he predicted on this show that Westbrook and Paul George were a lot closer, Joy, than everybody thought. So he is all geeked up to clobber me live on the air.
Well, until Paul George says otherwise, we just have to assume that the reason he stayed there is because they love each other.
Yes. All right. So the Warriors yesterday get DeMarcus Cousins, and you're all freaking out. So I'm going to start right there. Take a deep breath. Really, when the 60-win Celtics next year face the 60-win Warriors in the finals, you're going to watch golf? Break down a Padre Brewers game? Really? When Klay Thompson's on the market next year and Magic and LeBron are recruiting him in free agency, you don't care about that either. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, the sky is falling. By the way, in Michael Jordan's 6 title years, he played 24 playoff series. He never played a Game 7 in the finals, and the NBA was its highest rated ever. In fact, in those 24 playoff series, he only faced a Game 7 twice. The Warriors have already been in a Game 7 3 times, and this puppy's just starting. And why did they go out and get DeMarcus Cousins? The story this morning that Draymond Green and Steve Kerr went out and got him. Why? Because they know how soft Steph is and how soft Kevin Durant is and how soft Nick Young is. That's why they went out and got him. Steve Kerr got into a fist fight with Michael Jordan. Draymond Green will get into a fist fight with anybody. Those are tough guys. They wanted another tough guy in the room. Yes, DeMarcus Cousins can give you 25-12. He's also difficult, enigmatic. The Pelicans were better without him. They swept the Blazers without him. They had a better record without him. He also tore his Achilles. You know what happens when 300-pound guys tear their Achilles? They're never the same. He's not even going to be ready until January or February. And you're freaking out? I'll never watch the league again. Oh, stop it. We celebrate dominance in America. I've never heard an Ohio State Buckeye fan on recruiting day say, let's give Purdue some of our players to make it more even. The only sport now with parity is golf, and nobody watches it. DeMarcus Cousins had no offers. He's difficult. I'd say he's a head case. He's never played in a single playoff minute, and he has to go in now for a year and prove that he can fit with a good culture. Good luck. I could make an argument. This isn't anything more than the beginning of the end for the Warriors, who are now grasping for an enigmatic tough guy because they lack it. P.J. Tucker punched Golden State in the neck. He's 6'5". He gave them nothing but trouble. Houston wins that series if Chris Paul's healthy. You know what a problem in sports is? A problem in sports is when one team has more money than every other team. Those 90s Yankees teams we celebrate, when they could just pay A-Rod more, and they could pay Mark Teixeira more, and they could pay C.C. Sabathia more because they had a regional sports network that was making $350 million a year, and the Cincinnati Reds regional sports network paid them $8 a week. That's a problem in sports. When one team simply has more money. It is not a problem in sports when you create an amazing culture where good players are willing to take less. We have that right now. It's called the Patriots, and it ain't killing the NFL. Don't be mad because the Warriors have a smart GM. Be mad because your doofus GM's got 5 burner Twitter accounts and couldn't even get a face-to-face meeting with LeBron James. Which is it? You don't like players taking pay cuts. Wait a minute. Don't you complain that players only care about money? What the hell is it? Pick a side, Gert. Pick a lane. Move that Delta 88 to the left lane. Let guys like me pass. Which is it? DeMarcus Cousins, many NFL players go to the Patriots and Warriors because they have their act together. They're buttoned up. They're smart. They get the rotation figured out. They travel in class. Steph Curry wasn't a number 1 pick. Klay Thompson wasn't a number 1 pick. Draymond Green wasn't a number 1 pick. And when guys like Derrick Rose and Westbrook were saying, my best friend's a basketball, I don't recruit, Steph Curry and the Hampton Five were out east, days in recruiting Kevin Durant. Don't blame them. Tell me the last baseball player that said, I'll take significantly less. Tell me the last superstar baseball player that did that. Michael Jordan, 24 series in his dynasty. Never a Game 7 in the finals. 2 Game 7s overall, and the Warriors have already faced 3. And for the record, I don't even like the Warriors to win it next year. I've been saying for 6 months, I'll take the Celtics. All right, let me shift gears. I read this story this morning. The famous LeBron James banner in downtown Cleveland is officially coming down. It is, Joy, a 10-story tall billboard.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's not going to take a day or two. It's going to take a week or two. And Nike spokesperson said it would take. It's going to take a while. And by the way, the Cavs official online team shop has already scrubbed LeBron from the front page, and they're selling his jerseys at a discount. And at the end of this story, it says this. Hey, it was a good run. Not really. Cleveland screwed it up. Cleveland screws everything up. 11 seasons with the best basketball player in the world. 1 title. By the way, he went to Miami, 4 years, 2 titles. Do the math. That's way better. This illustrates the utter dysfunction of Cleveland. 11 years, 1 title, and he leaves you for the second time. By the way, this is happening with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Best player in the world, 10 years, 1 title. And now, by the way, Minnesota, the Vikings in your own division, has a star in every unit. They have a star corner, a star safety, a star pass rusher, a star linebacker, a star running back, a star receiver. Cleveland's draft picks, just in the years LeBron was a Cavalier. I'm not even going to count that they drafted Tristan Thompson over Klay Thompson. I'm not going to count that they drafted Andrew Wiggins potentially. You think that was their ace draft pick? No, Joel Embiid was in that draft. He's a better player. In the years he was a Cavalier, they had 13 picks. None were elite players. In 2006, they took Shannon Brown. Paul Millsap was available 20 picks later. 2008, J.J. Hickson. DeAndre Jordan was available several picks later. 2009, Christian Iyenga. Patrick Beverley, available 12 picks later. And yes, they took Andrew Wiggins, who now isn't happy in Minnesota. Joel Embiid was available 2 picks later. Cleveland's dysfunction screwed this up. When you get a LeBron and an Aaron Rodgers, you don't waste any time. You overpay for GMs. You overpay for talent evaluators. You overpay for scouts. You overpay for a head coach. You overpay for assistants. You overpay for position coaches. Aaron Rodgers is now 34. They don't have close to the best roster in their own division. And he's had 2 surgeries. When Aaron Rodgers became a starter in 2008, 10 years ago, do you realize the AFC was better? Well, the AFC had 6 teams with 11 or more wins. Peyton, Brady, Ben, all in their prime. The NFC had only 3 teams with 11 or more wins. Now Aaron Rodgers, have you looked at the NFC? Every single franchise, every one has a franchise quarterback. There are no easy Sundays. The Bears have their quarterback. The Vikings now have upgraded at quarterback. Don't tell me it was a good run. Green Bay has screwed up Aaron Rodgers. When you get somebody that gifted, you keep people that elevate him. Always. You overpay for coordinators, coaches, scouts, talent evaluators. There are no more Aaron Rodgers on the market. There are no more LeBron James on the market. Green Bay finally figured it out and flushed some people downstairs. But I don't want to hear it was mostly a good run. It was typical of Cleveland. You mostly screwed it up. And with that, via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network, a guy that is licking his chops, who predicted Paul George would stay in OKC, Thunder broadcaster, former player, good guy, Antonio Daniels. Before we get to that little side story, which you probably were more right than me on, let's start with LeBron. I'm told you don't think Cleveland screwed it up. You think LeBron screwed it up.
No, I'm not saying LeBron screwed it up. I'm saying, you know what? Let's not put this all on the Cavaliers. Because back when LeBron was in Cleveland, what we said was he was calling all the shots, right? He brought in Kevin Love. He got Tristan Thompson paid. He helped get J.R. Smith paid, brought in Kyle Korver. So he was making moves. So let's not just absolve LeBron James of all accountability here. Let's not say it's just on the Cleveland Cavaliers that they dropped the ball on LeBron James. No, LeBron was in a position with the Cavaliers to make moves. He made some moves. He put a team around him that he thought could be successful. And they won a championship with that team. No one was praising the Cavaliers then. Because what we do now, we talk out of both sides of our mouth. If something is successful, it's on LeBron. If something is unsuccessful, it's on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm just not with that.
You played with a legend, Tim Duncan. Did Tim Duncan ever have a voice in personnel? Because obviously LeBron does have a voice in personnel. Right. Did Duncan? Right. You're friends with Tim Duncan. You're tight with Tim Duncan. Did he ever have a say in him and use his power with the Spurs?
No, the way it was with Tim and Pop would run decisions by Tim. That's a sign of respect that you give to your franchise player. But it's not like Tim was going in and telling Pop. Like, Tim was one of my best friends.
Yeah.
When I was here. I got traded away. Malik Rose was one of Tim's best friends when he was here. He got traded away. Corey Alexander, Monty Williams, really good friends with Tim, all traded away. Maybe the issue is you shouldn't be friends with Tim. But all that being said, but he never used his power to to make personnel decisions. Pop ran things by him. That was a part of their organizational chemistry that they had within themselves.
Do you think it's fair to say that LeBron's needy and high maintenance?
Do I think he's high maintenance?
Yeah.
Yes. But I think most star players are high maintenance. It's not like LeBron is the only one. You know, just like we can talk about LeBron is difficult to play with, there are a number of other players in this league that are difficult to play with. That's what makes them who they are, though.
So when the Lakers pick up Rondo, Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, do you think that's LeBron telling Magic, I'll come here, you got to give me some dogs, you got to give me some veterans? You think LeBron's making those shots?
You know what? I think he has something to do with that. But I'm having a difficult time understanding because I can understand wanting JaVale McGee's athleticism.
Okay.
Or wanting Lance Stevenson's toughness.
Yeah.
Or wanting Rajon Rondo's intelligence on the floor. But as far as skill set goes, and these guys blending in with LeBron James, you look at who's been successful with LeBron and the teams that have been built around LeBron, they've all been catch and shoot guys. And these guys are not catch and shoot guys. These are guys that need the ball in their hand. So the thought that you have is maybe there is something that's missing here. Maybe there is a plan that's on the back burner that Magic Johnson and LeBron James have that we can't see right now.
Here's the only thing I worry about, Antonio, is you and Tim Duncan, David Robinson are legendarily tight. You were friends with one of the 10, 15 best players in league history. Can you make an argument? You know what chemistry means in this game. The thing that worries me is this. Lonzo Ball's a little passive-aggressive. Brandon Ingram's a little passive-aggressive. Does Lance Stevenson and Rondo and LeBron overwhelm emotionally these young players? You know, I mean, Rondo is rough on veterans. What's he going to be like on Lonzo and Brandon Ingram? Is that a possibility?
See, for me, I see Rondo as different. Having the opportunity to do Pelican games this year, Rondo's a heck of a leader. Rondo's a heck of a leader, similar to Chris Paul. And what happens is when you're a leader that hold guys accountable, guys don't like that. Guys do not like that. Rajon Rondo is that guy that is standing up on the sideline and calling out the set of the next play before it even happens. And if you're not doing your job on the floor, Rajon Rondo will hold you accountable. Just like if you don't do your job on the floor, Chris Paul will hold you accountable. So I like that kind of leadership. And if I'm LeBron James, if I'm Magic Johnson or Rob Pelinka, I want that kind of leadership in my locker room.
If I said today, Lakers 50 wins, you taking the over or the under with this roster?
I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under.
How much?
Give me 45.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm taking the under.
That's an 8 seed.
Because the thing you have to understand is LeBron's not going to play 82 games again. Now, we're talking about the way that the roster is currently constructed, right? We're not talking about Kawhi Leonard coming in. We're not talking about anything else happening. We're talking about the way that the roster is currently constructed. LeBron's not going to play 82 games again.
Yeah.
So if LeBron does not play 82 games again, I can't see this team getting to 50 wins.
Let's segue into something. I guess I have to discuss this. You came on my show and you said, Colin, you don't know. Paul George and Westbrook, they're closer than you think. And I said, come on, man, I'm watching Westbrook. He's yelling at fans in Utah. He's coming unraveled again in the playoffs. This guy's hard to play with. Well. Look who was right. It wasn't me. So you weren't surprised by Paul George and OKC?
No, and I tell you this, Colin, because I have a question for you.
Okay.
If Paul George left and went to L.A., you would have lit into Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
Right? You would have said, you know what? The reason Paul George left is the same reason Kevin Durant left, because Russell Westbrook is hard to play with. Now, Colin, what you have to do is give Russell Westbrook that same credit for keeping Paul George in Oklahoma City.
Okay, so here's what I said earlier today, and here's what I believe, is that Russell can say he doesn't listen to the media, but he heard over the last several months, he heard the echoes, he heard the comments, he heard the Westbrook's impossible to play with. And Russell, who once told us his best friend was the basketball, Russell made a concerted effort in the last couple of months.
You don't want to give this man credit for nothing, Colin.
I'm giving him credit. I'm saying
you don't want to give him credit for nothing.
I'm saying he heard the narrative that he was difficult, and he said, you know what? I'm going to make an effort to go out and give my love to Paul. And he did a little recruiting with Paul, and it worked. And that you don't think that's credit?
Well, to me, I think there are a few people that deserve credit. Russell Westbrook deserves a ton of credit because he would have got a ton of criticism if Paul George had left.
Fair, yes.
Sam Presti deserves a ton of credit for actually swinging for the fences last summer to bring in Paul George.
Now that's good. Yep, you're right. That deserves credit.
Thinking to itself, if I bring in Paul George to play with Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Andre Robertson, Steven Adams, and get him with this Thunder fan base and around this organization, maybe we can woo him in to a long-term deal. And look what happened.
No, I think you make good points. Listen, Joy, you've had to endure me for a couple of weeks because Joy Taylor just joined the show, and she now has to listen to me, blab. I will admit that Westbrook can drive me crazy. He's got a very tunnel vision style. I've seen it with other players, and it drives me crazy. But I do think, Antonio, you didn't grow up with social media. When you played, we didn't have all this stuff.
Correct.
I think players now hear the criticism. They can't avoid it. It's on their phone. They can't avoid it.
I agree with that.
And I do think Russell heard it and said, hey, man, this is now, I'm hearing this narrative out there from loudmouths like not necessarily me, but a lot of people. And I do think Russell, to his credit, was not stubborn. And he just said, man, I got to get this thing done right. So I'm giving him love.
See, for me, why can't it just be the fact that Paul George and Russell Westbrook actually enjoy playing together? It doesn't have to be Russell Westbrook listening to the white noise. It doesn't have to be Paul George out there listening to the white noise. Because I tell you one thing you won't admit, and it's difficult to see from your point of view, because I know you are a huge LeBron fan.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, Colin, before I say this, I honestly feel like LeBron is the best player to ever lace him up. I've said that before. So this is not discrediting LeBron. But what Paul George chose to do was to stay in a small market in Oklahoma City and play with Russell Westbrook as opposed to going to Los Angeles and play with LeBron James. I think that speaks volumes about Russell Westbrook and that LeBron and that Oklahoma City organization.
Yeah, I'll throw one at you. Kyrie Irving didn't like playing with LeBron. Paul George is saying no thank you. Boogie Cousins chose the Warriors. Right. Is it fair to say as LeBron is aged, there's a reputation out there, he overwhelms the room, and 5 years ago, everybody wanted to play with LeBron. Is it fair for me to say, the league is split now. Half the league doesn't want to play with him. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, it is. Well, I don't think that's discrediting LeBron. I think you have to be a certain kind of player. If you go back and you look at LeBron's career, guys that are the best around LeBron are catch-and-shoot guys. Look at the way Miami was constructed.
Yeah.
With all catch-and-shoot guys. Ray Allen, James Jones, Shane Battier, Mike Miller, Mario Chalmers. Chris Bosh became a spot-up shooter. And the only other guy that they had that could put the ball on the floor was Dwayne Wade. Then you go to Cleveland. You get all those guys that are spot-up shooters outside of Kyrie Irving. But then when they made the trades and they brought in Isaiah Thomas, it didn't work. Derrick Rose, it didn't work. Dwayne Wade, it didn't work. Because these guys need the ball in their hand too. But Kyle Korver, it works for him. J.R. Smith, it works for him. Kevin Love, it works for him. That's why it's difficult to understand the moves that they're making in L.A. right now. And I don't know. I'm on the outside looking in, but I will have to believe that they have another big-time move up their sleeve.
Westbrook will never come on the show, but I let you come on the show and bash me for him. So, see, I'm sympathetic to Westbrook just through you.
Okay, I'll take that. I will take that.
Antonio, I love having you on, my man. You do a great job, and you are welcome anytime, even to bash me. Thanks, buddy.
I appreciate you, brother.
All right. He is legendarily known as a really close friend of Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan had 3 or 4 boys in the league that he just loved. They were his boys. They were his guys. And when David Robinson was there and Tim Duncan was there and Antonio got into that circle, and he was really tight with his guys. Those were the guys. It's funny. Jordan was close, not with Pippen, but he was close with, like, Rod Higgins. It is amazing sometimes who the star. Kobe was close with Derek Fisher. It is funny sometimes. Like LeBron and D-Wade are 2 stars, they get along. But sometimes you'll find these all-time legends, and they just connect with sometimes role players, sometimes backup guys, sometimes good players, not great players. Is that because they're threatened by other great players? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but Antonio and Tim were tight, really tight. Coming up next, one thing I don't buy about Kawhi Leonard and the Sixers. Everybody's telling me he's going to Philly. There's one thing I don't buy about that at all. Next, The Herd.
Has support, back in for Emil Forsberg. Emil Forsberg deflected.
Bucket shot in! Sweden will score the opening goal!
Well, we've been crying out for Emil Forsberg to take control of this game for Sweden. But just watch the little drop in the shoulder as this comes across his body. See you later. In these situations, that doesn't happen. It opens up. He has a half-yard of space, which he creates by himself. And Sweden lead here in St. Petersburg.
FIFA World Cup quarterfinals kick off Friday on FS1. First, Pogba and teen sensation Mbappe lead France against Uruguay. Then Neymar and Brazil battle Belgium. The World Cup quarterfinals starting at 9 a.m. Eastern on FS1, or stream all the action live on the Fox Sports app.
First of all, Brazil-Belgium that's going to be absolutely incredible. It is amazing the last 4 or 5 days the ratings for this are going up, considering many of the stars are out. I find that in World Cup soccer, the bottom has risen to the top. There is just no overwhelming favorite. Everybody thinks Brazil's in. I think England's going to win it. I think England's bracket's easier.
You're a little biased about England.
I am 61% British. Look at this nose. Look at these ears. I'm British, obviously. By the way, this is something, Joy and I have worked in the business long enough, is that when stories leak, people want them leaked. If a story, that's why, like when you watch Oliver Stone's JFK, nobody can keep a secret. Okay, nobody can keep a secret. LeBron was supposed to, their camp was supposed to let that puppy out like Tuesday. By Sunday, they let it out. Like nobody can keep a secret. And that's just the reality of it. Because everybody's talking, because when you walk around town, you always want to feel like you have inside information. Hey man, I know something nobody else knows. You want to hear it? That's how guys operate. I won't speak for women. That's how guys operate. So right now, you got all these stories leaking at the Celtics and the Sixers making big deals for Kawhi Leonard. No, they're not. And no, they're not. That is San Antonio leaking those stories to put some fear in the Lakers to offer more. First of all, I'm going to give you a fact. Boston's not giving up Jason Tatum, and they're not giving up Kyrie Irving. They are not on the table. I got that sourced. They're not giving them up. And those are the two guys San Antonio wants. They're not giving up Kawhi Leonard for Jaylen Brown. They're not. Or Gordon Hayward. They're not. So they're not doing a deal with the Celtics. That's not going to happen. Kyrie and Jason Tatum are off the board. And that's who San Antonio wants. Secondly, Philadelphia took Embiid and Simmons off the board. They're not trading with the Sixers for Robert Covington. His last 3 playoff games against Miami, he shot 15% and averaged 3 points. He's a bench player. He is a bench player. I don't care what he did last year. As Philadelphia gets better, he's going to play less. You're not making a deal. Robert Covington for Kawhi Leonard, they shouldn't be in the same sentence. What about Dario Saric? What about him? He's okay. He's a nice player. He's okay. This story is out there because San Antonio is trying to freak out the Lakers. So the Lakers are like, oh my God, they're going to make him a... Greg Popovich has Kawhi Leonard. That's a borderline arguable max player. He's going to do it for Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown? No, not. I don't think Boston would give up those 2 guys. They'd give them 1. And Jaylen Brown, Kawhi Leonard, do you think Greg Popovich is going to say, I'm good with that? No. He wants picks, multiple players. Lakers have the best deal. We'll give you picks. We'll give you Lonzo. We'll give you Brandon Ingram. Those guys are out there. They're on the table. You're not going to get better than that. Brandon Ingram's going to average 19, 20 points this year. Lonzo's going to average 15 and 10 assists. You take Lonzo. San Antonio liked Lonzo Ball. They didn't like LeVar. They liked him in the draft. They liked him. The 2 players the Lakers got, the Spurs liked. Kuzma, Spurs liked him. Lonzo, Spurs liked him. Lakers aren't going to give him Kuzma. But the stories get out when somebody wants them out. Celtic Spurs ain't happening. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
Well, I bet I can guess who wants this story out, Colin. According to a report in the Chicago Sun-Times, a league source close to the situation says Jimmy Butler and Kyrie Irving are trying to figure out a way to play together. Same source says that Butler has no intention on signing an extension with the Timberwolves, and he is fed up with the nonchalant attitudes of his younger teammates, including, specifically, Karl Anthony Towns.
Wow.
He is under contract until 2019, when he can then opt out and become a free agent. So, if this does happen, do you think Kyrie and Jimmy Butler end up in Boston
New York,
or somewhere else, New York?
Let me tell you something. having lived in the East Coast, you grew up in Pittsburgh. I don't know how much time you spent in New York.
I've spent some time in New York.
Okay. New York, people think it's a baseball town.
No.
You cannot get a ticket to the Knicks, and they've been putrid for 15 years. If Kyrie Irving, Porzingis, and Butler go and play in New York, that's a championship-level contender. That is so good for the NBA. New York is an incredible... People forget this, Joy. New York's a great basketball town. You still can't get a ticket to the Knicks, and they've been unwatchable for the last 15 years. People forget this about Golden State. I'm old enough to remember when Golden State was a basketball town. People are like, oh, the Bay Area is a baseball town. For years and years, they were selling out that dump of an arena with terrible teams. Now they're good. You can't even sniff a ticket in Golden State. So I love seeing San Francisco back being a great basketball city because it always was. They were just mismanaged for 25 years. I would love to see Kyrie and Butler join Porzingis.
I'm with you. The NBA, all leagues are better when the key cornerstone franchises are competitive.
Yes.
Either way. And even if Kyrie left Boston, I think they have enough good young pieces there that they still would be competitive in the East.
They don't have cap space, so it couldn't happen today. But
next year.
Yes.
Next year in New York. So the days of people referring to DeMarcus Cousins as Boogie could be over because Steph Curry has given him a new nickname, the third Splash Brother. Not quite as catchy, but he tweeted yesterday, the third Splash Brother with a bunch of laughing emojis. Let's go, Boogie Cousins. Now, Cousins did shoot 35.4% from three last season, but let's take a little flashback, take a little journey back in time to a clip from 3 years ago during USA basketball practice.
All right.
Who are you, DeMarcus? The third Splash Brother. I don't get that on camera, right? We gotta get this right. The third Splash Brother. We're still taking applications, don't worry.
It's not quite the take he was looking for. But
he got better at that. He's actually better now.
Yes. This is why in NBA free agency we pay attention to everything. Every little emoji that's tweeted. Yes. Everything is important. But do you think that a healthy Boogie actually fits with the Warriors?
No, I think he doesn't fit with anybody, but I don't think he'll play till March. And I think then I think the key to Boogie is be a good dude, have a couple of really nice playoff games, and then go back on the market and make your dough. But he doesn't fit right. He doesn't fit their system. I think he's. I actually like the Rondo to the Lakers. To me,
more than Boogie.
Oh, I think Rondo to the Lakers is great with Lonzo, pushing Lonzo. He's a dog. He's tough. He's a great passer. I think the Lakers. I really like that move. Lance Stephenson's wacko. JaVale will never play much. But I don't see Boogie as a game changer.
Temporary situation.
Yeah. Plus that injury is brutal.
Yes. And finally, it's time for the World Cup Tournament Download presented by Pepsi. So Belgium completed one of the most improbable comebacks in World Cup history yesterday.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. Overcoming a 2-0 deficit to score 3 goals in the final 25 minutes of the match. The game winner for Belgium came in the 94th minute of the match during stoppage time. It looked like a fast break, started by their goalkeeper and went goal to goal in about 10 seconds. It was an incredible finish. The win sets up what looks like it's going to be an amazing matchup between Belgium and Brazil in the round of 8. I felt really bad for Japan.
I got to tell you something. Belgium's full of all these all-star level players. Japan, to me, not Russia, has been the shock of the tournament. Now it's Russia. But I think what you're seeing is the high end, the bottom teams in this World Cup have caught up to the big dogs. Argentina's got talent, but they're dysfunctional. Germany didn't play well. I got to tell you, if England wins today, I think they're in the final. I think their bracket's easy. Easier.
How excited are you for Belgium and Brazil?
Oh, I think it'll be the best game in the tournament.
Well, that's the news.
It will be the biggest match in the tournament. There's Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
Car
News.
shopping's confusing. A lot of terms. Dealer price, list price, invoice. True Car shows you, new or used, total transparency, what you'd buy before you get to the dealership. Coming up next, before you claim the Warriors and DeMarcus Cousins are ruining the NBA, you got to listen to a little history and what we have to say next. Best for last around the corner. By the way, I was saying I don't buy these Kawhi Leonard's going to the Celtics rumors. I just don't buy them. I think it's a bunch of hooey. Welcome back to the Herd. Joy Taylor joining me. Rick Bucher was on. an hour ago. He doesn't buy these rumors that are being leaked by the San Antonio side that Celtics are very interested in making a deal with Kawhi Leonard. Here's what Bucher said.
Are you really going to acquire Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and Gordon Hayward coming off of his injury? You're going to build around 3 injury-prone guys? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't buy it. This business we're in, when people want stuff out, they put it out there. And I do think the Sixers deal could happen. It'd have to be a lot of draft picks. It would have to be a lot of draft picks. But I do think Brett Brown, the coach there, used to work under Popovich. They have a relationship. They both hate the Lakers. They would do something. But you'd have to give, they don't have a GM. Is Brett Brown have the power to give up 4 first-round picks? Because that's what Pop wants. Pop, you're not trading, Dario Saric, Robert Covington. Come on, for Kawhi Leonard, you got to give him a ton of picks. In San Antonio, if you get picks, remember, Pop's almost 70. Picks are hope. You can sell hope to the San Antonio fans. You can sell hope. You can't sell Robert Covington. All right, people, let's go best for last.
After almost 3 hours, Colin apparently hasn't gotten to the point yet. Quit holding out on us, Cowherd. It's the best for last.
So people are angry that DeMarcus Cousins is going to the Warriors. There was just utter outrage yesterday on social media. None of it worth all the hyperbolic nonsense. Team valuations have skyrocketed in the last decade. Teams now are worth $2 and $3 billion. Most teams were worth $500 million a decade ago. Now they're worth $2 billion. This year's Eastern-Western Conference Finals was the first time since 1979 the ratings were this high. The finals were disappointing, but people were into basketball. There's never been a time where I have talked less baseball in July and more NBA, and my show's not alone. This is on every sports network of note. But with that said, if you think DeMarcus Cousins is ruining the NBA, I'm going to roll a little bit of a scroll, a graph here on other things I've been told that were going to ruin the NBA. Here goes. Kevin Durant to the Warriors was going to ruin the NBA. LeBron to the Heat. Now LeBron to the Lakers. Shaq going to the Lakers. Wilton Kareem going to the Lakers. Basically anything involving the Lakers. All these three-pointers was going to ruin the league. Expansion teams tanking athletics, hack-a-shack, LeVar Ball. West being so much better than the East. Expanding the first round of the playoffs 5 to 7 games. Cars in the slam dunk contest. Fergie's national anthem. Spurs boring dominance. Bulls boring dominance. Celtics boring dominance in the 60s. The Minneapolis Lakers boring dominance in the 50s. Salary cap. Raising the salary cap. Everything to do with the salary cap. Implementing the one and done, getting rid of the hand check, changing too many rules, not changing enough rules, the last 2-minute report, Tim Donaghy was going to ruin it, lockout CBAs, when they stopped using John Tesh's awesome NBA and NBC theme was going to ruin it, changing the basketball, oh wait, that actually did ruin the NBA, and finally, triple doubles, which I actually think have kind of hurt the NBA. All those things were going to ruin the NBA. Take a deep breath. In the Western Conference alone, we have 7. Now LeBron's a Laker. We have 7 really good teams. And I'm not counting Portland with that backcourt, New Orleans with Anthony Davis, and Denver, who's good but has an anonymous roster. You have 10 teams in the West that are good. By the way, the East is weak, but they do have, with Kyrie and Gordon Hayward returning, a potential dynasty for a decade in the East. And oh, by the way, Philadelphia's got 2 young stars who I think will both become superstars. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. And the Greek freak, Milwaukee, probably now becomes the second or the third best team in the East for a long time. I think this is something that I've seen happen over the last decade. Social media is sometimes the impetus for this. I have a friend of mine who's not in this business. And we went on a car ride recently, and we were just talking about our business. And I said, what bothers you about the media? Because I'm in it, you're not. And he said, shouldn't you guys all have less emotion? Like, why is everybody in the media, political media, sports media, why is everybody freaking out all the time? And I read a story this weekend in the New York Times where, no, it wasn't in the New York Times. It was a former New York Times editor. And she said, discipline is a huge component to journalism. Go watch the political shows. Anybody emotionally disciplined?
Well,
people are crazy.
Isn't that the bottom line to everything, that journalism is dead? It's a whole lot more of TV personalities and opinions than necessarily pure journalists, because a journalist is supposed to be unbiased.
Yes, almost sedated.
Correct.
You walk into a horrible, tragic scene and you are able to cut through it emotionally, cut to the quick.
And get to the facts.
Get to the facts. Yesterday, Boogie Cousins, the sports media is just doing cartwheels. He's coming off a horrible injury. He's not going to be available until February or March. Then he's going to be out of there 3 months later. He's hard to get along with. This injury is brutal. And by the way, the Pelicans were better when he left. He's never, ever been a player that elevates other players. He's bad for locker rooms. I tell you, when I look at Boogie Cousins, I think you can make an argument it's a little bit the beginning of the end. Is the stories out today are that Steve Kerr and Draymond Green. Now, Steve Kerr may not be a big guy, but he's a tough guy. Got into a fist fight with MJ. That Draymond Green and Steve Kerr, not Curry, not Clay, not Kevin Durant, Kerr and Draymond made this happen. Why? Because Kerr and Draymond think Steph and KD and Clay can be a little passive and a little finesse. Steph grew up with money. Clay grew up with money. Kevin Durant's kind of a finesse wanderer intellectually, kind of a chaser, a wanderer. Draymond, he's all tough. Kerr, scrappy. Made the league because he was tough. Got into a fight with MJ. I think it's telling you that the people in Golden State know. Listen, man, this is going to be harder this year. PJ Tucker gave us fits. We were down 3-2. If Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, we probably lose. So I think this is a sign. Everybody's freaking out. I think this is a sign Golden State's like, listen, man, we're sensing what's happening here. We're getting rich. We're getting happy. It's harder to get motivated. We're getting blown out more in the regular season. We didn't breeze through the playoffs. I think this is a sign that they're reaching a little bit on a beat-up older player. Well, I shouldn't say on a big player with a massive injury that's enigmatic. His own team, New Orleans, made no pitch for him. Wouldn't even meet with him. What does that tell you? In fact, I thought the deal yesterday that translates to wins was Rondo to the Lakers. Rondo had a great playoff series. His numbers went up. He gives you 10 assists a night. He's going to give you 8 rebounds a night. He's going to give you, 8 to 10 points. He's not a shooter. But Rondo is a great situational guard. He's not going to give you 20, not a shooter. But situationally, high IQ, tough, rebounds, attacks, defense, smart, and he'll push Lonzo. I thought that was the deal where a team got better yesterday. Rondo to the Lakers, that feels like 2 wins. That feels like Boogie Cousins ain't playing till March. He is not. And by the way, you look at the history of that injury, guys are never the same. They are never, ever the same. In fact, I said this earlier. People are looking at the Lakers yesterday. I think Magic has checked all the boxes so far. If you look at what Magic has done, it looks like yesterday there was a sense that what are the Lakers doing? They haven't thought this out. They're making it up as they go. Kobe Bryant said it. Anybody that knows Rob Pelinka, this guy is razor sharp. That's Kobe's guy, Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka and Kobe tight. Magic Johnson came to this franchise. He had a plan. It's worked perfectly. First thing he did was get rid of D'Angelo Russell, Nick Young, immature. Second thing he did, got rid of a Mozgov contract. That was a lead weight. Third thing, ace the draft. Fourth thing, they signed KCP, who's represented by LeBron's people, to forge a relationship with LeBron's people. Then they got rid of Jordan Clarkson's awful contract. Then they signed LeBron. Then yesterday they announced Julius Randle's deal, which if you live in L.A., they've been talking about that in the L.A. Times for a year. Then yesterday they signed a bunch of one-year deals to make their cap situation very flexible next year in the free agent class. Clay's available. Kevin Durant could be out there. DeMarcus Cousins could be out there. This idea that they're just making it up as they go. Folks, if the Lakers are making it up as they go, they are the luckiest team in the world. They just keep stumbling into all these great moves. Everything you wanted them to do 2 years ago. Get rid of D'Angelo Russell. Get rid of the Mozgov contract. Have a good draft. Get a relationship with LeBron. Clarkson's overrated. Sign LeBron. Renounce Julius Randle. And be flexible for the next free agent class. Everything you wanted them to do as a Laker fan the last year, they've done all of it. Last year or two. So I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in fate. I believe you have a plan and you exercise the plan. And I think they've done it brilliantly. If they land Kawhi, we're going to all be sitting here being, oh my God, Magic literally just hit a grand slam. That's the only thing left to do is sign one more player, and they got a bunch of draft picks, a bunch of flexible one-year deals, and young assets. For the record, everybody freaking out about DeMarcus Cousins. You know, during the Western Conference Finals, anybody notice this? Centers barely played. You can have DeMarcus Cousins on the floor when James Harden and Chris Paul are popping jumpers. Clint Capella didn't play. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. It's The Herd.